at this. One is... But you forgot corporate.
How much they paid you? Yeah,
I was in the corporate days. No, I don't know if it'll work. I honestly don't know if it'll work. But I do think there's a large group or a large segment of this population in the U.S. that want to watch soccer but don't want to pay for it, or don't want to take the leap to pay for it because maybe they watch a European or a Liga MX or something else.
Can I tell you something?
A
lot of people don't want to pay for it.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
If they decide to watch this, if USL could get this in front of them in an inexpensive way or even free.
By the way,
wow.
Fans in this country are spoiled because if you hear what the domestic, how much people have to pay, if you're in England, you want to watch Premier League. If you're in Italy, you want to watch Serie A. You're talking about $60 a month.
Yeah, they're getting fleeced. We're not.
This is the best country in the world to watch football, by the way, in terms of even cost per.
The thing is, from a business perspective, here, people will pay for the top leagues in the world, top leagues in Europe, and your casual fan that's not an MLS diehard it's going to be difficult to convince them to pay to watch the local league when all day they've been paying for all these streaming services that give you the top tier quality of football. And unless you're a diehard, it's going to be difficult to convince. And that's where USL comes in, right? Because it's going to give you that exciting last gasp match day, promotion relegation, the hope that drives these teams throughout a season. From day one, the worst team, and from day one, the best team have something to play for.
Yeah.
And that in itself is quality. We have an entire country with the United States completely sold on this idea of Wrexham in Wales. Like, who cares about Wrexham in Wales? But they managed to convince people to care because of promotion relegation, because your aspiration is towards someone from the very beginning of the season.
It's daring to dream.
Yeah.
Right? Cinderella story. Everyone likes that.
Everyone loves a Cinderella
You like that?
story.
Daring to
How about
dream.
that for PR?
Very nice.
I love
We should
that.
start a company.
Now, I feel like it would shake things up tremendously, and we love these conversations, so I feel like this is not the last time we will be discussing this. But yeah, let's go. All right, we're going to take a break. When we return, we are chatting with Brighton head coach Roberto De Zerbi. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. The Premier League Summer Series kicks off on July 22nd. Brighton will face Chelsea at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. And right now, we are absolutely thrilled to bring in the head coach of Brighton, Roberto De Zerbi. Roberto, welcome to Morning Footy. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon.
So we've got a pretty exciting trip coming up for you. You're going to be stateside. You'll be hitting Philadelphia, Atlanta, New Jersey. What's your experience in the States? Have you been here before?
No, never. And I'm excited to come in United States and logically, I will come to work to improve my team and to play the friendly game, important friendly game. and it will be a great experience, I think.
Roberto, what about Europe for next season? The results on the pitch for the summer series are going to be important leading up to a European season. That must be very exciting. You had some European experience with Shakhtar Donetsk. What's the vibe like, the atmosphere around Brighton with this team in the Europa League?
But it's difficult because it's the first time for us. We are a new club in Europe. We have to adapt. We have to understand very fast. It will be a very tough season, but exciting season. No, we have a lot of motivation, and we wanna compete in our type, in our style, with our quality. Yeah.
When you say adapt, what do you need to adapt specifically in Europe? What are some of the challenges that are presented?
But to adapt in terms of to play 3 games per week, to play Thursday in Europe, and to forget for the next game in Premier League. They are 2 different competitions. We will compete in 4 competitions, more FA Cup and Carabao Cup, and we need 20 players. 20 players able to play in every competition, and we have to adapt because there are different week of work, no?
Roberto, I want to ask about your playing style. I know, or at least the style of play that your Brighton has. It's been talked about a lot. I'm personally a big fan. I actually voted for you as my coach of the season for the Premier League, manager of the season. And the style that you have where your center backs will put their studs on the ball and wait for the attackers to come and press to create space, but also be very attacking sense and very direct after that. Where did that come from? Is that something you developed or you saw when you were starting to play? Because I know you kind of played it in Sassuolo as well. Where did that come from? Because it's very impressive.
Congratulations, because you are ready to start to be a coach, eh?
Listen, can I do my licenses with you?
You're ready, yes. No, I'm still studying football. No, I change depending of the players, depending of the league. I'm working, but yeah, the main sense is to play with the opponent pressure, because if you want to score, you have to go to shoot without opponent, and to eliminate opponent. You have to play. But you know, without the quality of players, the coaches can't win and can't be important.
Interesting. Roberto, now that you're speaking to your translator, I imagine, as a foreign manager, for example, we saw Bielsa that spoke through a translator to his players. For you, as an Italian, English not being your first language, and usually in England, for some reason, people are very critical of those who don't speak English, but you know, you've managed to translate that emotion and the tactical knowledge to your players. How has that been for you, and has it presented a challenge this year?
Well, I can tell you my opinion and my idea. I think with the press with the journalist in press conference, with the player when we are one-to-one, is right to speak in English, because I'm working in another country. I'm not working in my country, and I can't speak Italian. But when I have a meeting with my players, I speak in Italian with my translator, because I want to be clear, and I want to achieve my goal. And my goal is to transfer my emotion, my idea, my style of play, my style of life to my players, no, and I can't lose time in the meeting, and I want to arrive immediately.
Well, Roberto, Brighton is definitely a club on the rise in terms of profile. And in the States, there are teams like Manchester United and Arsenal and Liverpool that have massive amounts of following. But for Brighton, maybe one of the smaller clubs, how important is it to get that global lens and gain more American fans, especially utilizing this summer series as an opportunity?
No, I think generally we can't compete against City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle now. But football is great because the game start 0-0, and you have to deserve to win a game, no? And we love dreaming. We love to fix in our head the big targets and to compete to reach the Europe League. For us is like a win a Premier League, a win a Champions League. But we know we are Brighton. We know we are not so big, but we are strong.
For Roberto, for this summer series coming up, obviously there's a lot of fans in the U.S. that are going to be looking forward to see Brighton play and some of the big names on the team. But how similar do you think it will be, how you can play in this preseason compared to what they're going to see in the regular season in the Premier League?
I think at the moment we are not the Brighton through yet, no? We are waiting a lot of national players, as Casado, Mitoma, Ferguson, and Chiso arrived 2 days ago, and we are working. But in this part of the season, it's not important the results. Most important is to improve our physical condition and to arrive at the beginning of the season in the best condition. In the August and September will start the season, a tough season. In September we'll start the Europe League, and that moment we have ready.
Well, Roberto, you've been working a lot. You can tell. Even managers like Pep Guardiola have said that you are one of the most influential managers in the last 20 years. That must be a credit to your work. How does that make you feel personally?
Well, I don't know. Pep is a friend. He's a good man. He helped me a lot at the beginning of my time in Premier League, and I can't forget him, and I can't forget it. I try to give my idea. I try to enjoy with my work. It's my passion, and then the result can change everything. No, if you win, you are a good coach and you are working well, but it's not like this because the results are different than the quality of your work.
Well, Roberto, we very much appreciate your time and look forward to welcoming you to the States. Safe travels to you and the whole team.
Thank you.
All right, let me know if you want me to swing by and be your assistant coach.
Oh, boy.
Here's my translate.
All right, we're going to take a break on Morning Footy, but plenty more to come. Don't go anywhere.
he's on pace to hit that as well. I mean, his stats are off the charts already, 13 goals, 7 assists. But the interesting thing with him, right, is he's been linked to teams now. Obviously in Europe, he's been linked to a team in Qatar. But when he was younger, he said that his 2 dreams were, one, playing for Hertha Berlin, which he already accomplished, and the second one was for the German national team, which he hasn't accomplished at the senior level. He's played for the under-21 at that level. So it's not like it's a player saying, oh, my dream is to go to the Premier League, and then you're like, oh, God, here we go. Now if a big offer comes in, it seems like he's already accomplished on the club level his dream. But just watching him play and doing like a scouting deep dive on him, he has raised his game so much since coming over from the Danish league. His contributions, his statistics have gone up three times more than what he was scoring and assisting at any time previous to his MLS career. Technical, can run down the middle, great finisher on his right. The goals that he's scoring from attacking midfield position, you just don't really see anywhere else. I mean, it's hard to find another attacking midfielder that plays behind the striker that can give you that sort of production in the final third. So what a gem. And by the way, he's also massively underpaid. If you look at the 15 players making more money than him, you're thinking, well, this guy needs to get an extra 0 added on to this contract.
I should be his agent, Mateo?
Hanny, 10% cut. That's all I ask. Let's do this.
Agent Mateo.
It's so interesting, though. This is a wild stat that I'm going to throw at you guys about Hani Mukhtar. Nashville SC, 60% of all of their goals have come from Hani Mukhtar since he started in 2021 with them. 60%.
They clearly have a big dependence on Hani Mukhtar. He didn't start in the last game against Chicago, in which they lost. He comes in at halftime, and he can only do so much. There's a massive drop-off from the goal scorers.
Yeah.
Just the amount of goals just this season.
Yeah.
After Hani Mukhtar, the way he gravitates, the way he's able to influence the game, get the best out of Bunbury, get the best out of Picot, get the best out of Randa Leal, who has been kind of on a nice little streak, given the fact that Hani Mukhtar's on an active 4-game goalless streak. So it just tells you how important Hani Mukhtar is this setup.
It does make you think, though, because Nashville is a very defensive-minded team, and Gary Smith is a very defensive-minded coach. They've don't concede a lot of goals. They win their matches at home, which is kind of a recipe for success in Major League Soccer. But if you take Hani Mukhtar out of that equation, if he does sign somewhere else, if they are able to get a bunch of money for them, what is that? What happens to Nashville SC? Your attack is essentially
it's not
gone.
much. The other names Nico mentioned
aren't
going to win you very many games alone. And if you do get a lot of money for Hani Mukhtar, you're going to be stressed to find one player that can give you the production he does. You're going to have to spread that across maybe 2, possibly 3 players. What I love most about him, and is we've spoken to him, he's a relatively quiet guy, not a massive personality. But when he's on the pitch, he is completely different. Also willing to be the leader. And that says a lot. For the success that Nashville have had, for the success they want to have, a guy like Hani Mukhtar is so important because he wants to be that leader. He wants to take it all on his back.
Suzanne, I'm going to take your role for a second. Question for you, Alexis. In terms of all-time MLS greatest signings, where do you put Mukhtar?
Well, that's tough because you got to win a title to be up at the top.
Do you?
Yeah, I think so. To be all-time greatest signings, yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of productivity for what they pay. What about value?
One more time?
What about value? You know?
As far as value, it's almost hard to say because he is almost a one-man band. You know, you look at someone like Walker Zimmerman and how well he sort of structures that defense and makes it his own. Who do you lay that out to? What's your outlet? It's Hani Mukhtar. So it's difficult to say. But, you know, you've said it best. They don't lose at home. It's a fortress of theirs. He wants to be that leader. He's accounted for more than half of their goal contribution. It's almost, if you ask the front office of Nashville, they'd say priceless.
So between Nashville and Philadelphia, by the way, both teams, when they score first this season, they've never lost. So like you mentioned, how they've made that a fortress, scoring and just being very tight on defense, I think that bodes into Nashville's balance. And Philadelphia as well. I mean, Philadelphia is a very difficult team to break down.
They are.
And they've found ways to score through Ure, through Juli Carranza.
Julian Carranza has been outstanding. They only have 1 win in their last 5, though. And they haven't won any of their last 4 away
on the road.
That
away
CONCACAF
matches.
hangover.
So
is
it's
rough, huh?
This is a tall task for Philadelphia. I mean, they're going to be fine. I believe in Jim Curtin. Happy to see him
I don't
get
think it's
that
that much of a
contract
hangover.
extension.
They were out early enough. They're there.
And the thing with like a
not like
Julian
they're out of the
Carranza,
playoffs.
Michael Ura, and Daniel Gazdag as
Gazdag,
well,
yeah.
they can score a bunch of
and
goals
Jose Martinez
and in bunches.
is
Nice bump with
They'll
getting
be fine.
Glesnes into the All-Star game as well now.
Yeah.
Nice little bump
They'll
there.
be
Nice
fine.
little confidence.
They'll be fine.
So I'm just worried about Nashville. Sorry, just
No, go ahead.
Schaffelberg is probably not going to play. He's just fresh off.
I like that kid.
Canada
Scoring
national
against
team.
the
really-
US, yeah.
And
That goal
Aníbal
against the
Godoy.
US was
The way he celebrated, just pointing, like, guess who's here? I was
silky.
calling him shuffleboard before that goal. It was great.
he's
And
Put his
great.
name-
no
put his name on
Aníbal
the map.
Godoy either, which is two important pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Let's chat quickly about LAFC and St. Louis. St. Louis sitting on top of the Western Conference standings right
Unbelievable.
now. LAFC have been struggling a little bit. They have fallen off of form, I think, ever since. I think they are suffering
That's
from a
CONCACAF
CONCACAF
hangover.
Yeah, for
Champions
sure.
League hangover, for
and,
sure.
and the fact that they didn't win, I think there's a bit of a depression right now at LAFC. No one's really at their best, and nobody's responding. Especially, I think that Denny Bouanga has gotten a little bit quiet, and the fact that they don't have a boss number 9 that will resolve anything that you put in their way. When you have Bouanga, you have Vela, but neither Buick or what's the name of the other striker? Bogusz. They're not top. They're not. You know, they're all right. So
Can we see a world
wonder-
where Vela plays the 9? I mean, plays the 10? Like just a straight cam 10?
He's played
sit
that before?
back? Yeah.
I don't know.
I know he likes to be off on the right so he can float in on the left. Give us that one curling shot that he
They've
magic at.
They played a lot of games. They need a nice little reset. Maybe in the transfer market, they figure something out.
Yeah. St. Louis is tough, though. They have proven everybody wrong. If Charlie Davies was sitting at this desk right now, I'm sure he had something to say about it.
Oh, we'd go to him.
Not
We'd go to
high.
him because he was not high on
No,
the
Not high on St. Louis, and here they are,
I wasn't
over
high on
halfway
them
through this
either.
season.
I wasn't
They are
high on them
still
either.
sitting on top.
It's wildly impressive.
I know, and they've been without Joao Klaus,
Yep.
who was their leading goal scorer at the start of the season, was a huge part of that hot streak that they went on.
He's been out since April, and everyone has responded. There's a plethora of goal scorers on the St.
Gioacchini.
Louis teams. Gioacchini's, of course.
I mean, they are kind of a plug and play, right? Whoever's in that, I mean, you're
They are
running all over
hard
the
to
place.
beat.
Yeah.
They are a team that is very, very hard to beat. They're very organized. They have an identity. They are just tough to beat. So this is a good test for LAFC, but they're going to want to make up some ground for sure.
It's gonna be
Interesting.
fun.
It's going to be fun. Love midweek MLS action. All right, we're going to take a break. We've got Matteo Benetti at the desk, so this is a perfect opportunity to chat some Serie A on the other side. Don't go anywhere. What does this do for the league?
It makes total sense. Look, Serie A want to market themselves way better globally. I thought in the past they did next to nothing to really get their name out there. It was very much everything was kept in Italy. You know, I've been now with the rights holder since 2012 of Serie A, and even in the last 3-4 years, there's been tremendous growth. Things as simple as having a good YouTube page, you know, tweeting in English, having an English page, just things like this. But now, you know, they want to get younger, they want to get hipper, they want to get cooler, they want to be like a name that is
boomer.
No, but look, they're trying to.
The words that he used, sorry. I know, but I understand.
Yeah. They're trying to appeal to the Gen Z
100%.
audience. That's why they're doing watch parties at clubs in New York City, right? The club that Jay-Z owns, I forget the name now. But this just shows you the kind of
40-40?
vision that they see, the 40-40 club, yeah. So they're not doing it just outside at a venue. They're trying to just change the image around a little bit, and I think this partnership, like strategically, makes total sense.
Is
Feels
Calcio
smart.
Beck?
Most people don't know.
Let's not go back to that.
Most
That
people
was
don't
wrong.
know. Rock Nation has had a partnership with AC Milan since 2020.
Yeah.
Originally hired them to redesign their logo, which I think has gotten some negative backlash.
Yeah, you can't redesign
So it
that logo.
hasn't been released. But Inter Milan changed theirs to a digital first logo. AC Milan might need that. I don't want to upset AC Milan fans. But
Yeah, stop right there.
I know the front office is. I know you are.
And look
Front
what happened
office is
to
thinking they need that.
Look what happened to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, I mean, for who needs a little green tree? But anyway, they want to do that. So I think this is another example of an older, sort of stuck in their ways league, learning that like, oh, there's other ways to make money. There's other ventures out there for us, and I think this is going to be a positive across the board.
Yeah,
can't
no,
hurt.
makes a lot of sense. All right, let's chat some Serie A news. Let's start with Napoli, who have named a new head coach, Rudy Garcia, taking over after Spalletti stepped down. This is a guy who spent a lot of time in Ligue 1, most recently with Al Nassr, but he does have some experience in Serie A with his time in Roma. Matteo, what is Napoli getting in a guy like Rudy Garcia?
So the owner, Aurelio De Laurentiis, said it best. He said, I want a manager that is comfortable and has the idea of playing in a 4-3-3. So that tells me right now that De Laurentiis wants the team to continue as best they can to look like the team that won the Scudetto under Luciano Spalletti, which makes total sense, right? You don't want to rock the boat. They're going to have most of their starters back, except Kim and Jae, who already left to Bayern Munich. So they went out and specifically got a manager that has tons of experience in playing a 4-3-3. Rudy Garcia's Roma side was one that wanted the ball. They wanted to attack. So I think it's more from like a philosophical standpoint. He didn't want to completely change. He didn't want to get someone that's like defensive 3-5-2. Wanted to keep the tactics the same. Not the most exciting name. You know, I think Napoli fans were thinking after the Scudetto, after Champions League, we went to the quarterfinals. They were dreaming of like a Jurgen Klopp type or a big name at that level. So I think that when it was declared as Rudy Garcia, the new manager, it was a bit lackluster, the fan reaction, but I think it's one that's just going to continue doing what they were doing last
Pretty
season.
sure it's Rudy Garcia's Lyon that beats Manchester City in the Champions League, the pandemic Champions
trust
League.
you.
I believe, don't quote me on that, but he was doing it with a Lyon side that has produced a couple of big name players.
This is the best team he's had.
But I
Best
will say,
quality.
I was going to say, you can't find another coach that does a 4-3-3. I mean, I also know he's not.
fine.
Yeah, I know. I'm not
fine.
saying he's bad, but you know, on the list, the guy from Al Nassr. You know what I mean? Come on, you know, there wasn't someone within the ranks. There's not someone that's already
Yeah, but
had.
hold up. He's not the guy from Al Nassr.
He was
That's
the
not-
guy from Al Nassr.
Right,
That's
but
where he was last.
But
Yeah,
that's
but he was
not
at
Rudy
Roma.
Garcia's
Yeah,
label.
yeah.
Of course
He has
not.
Champions League experience.
Yes, I'm not saying he's not qualified. I'm saying you couldn't find someone with a bigger name.
Mateo.
You would expect from
It wasn't
someone
the most
that-
exciting.
Is he viewed as a downgrade?
That's I
Yes.
think
How
so.
much?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Luciano Spalletti,
Did you
especially after
hear
last
any
season,
other names
absolutely.
that were in the mix for this position?
Klopp was the name that was making a little bit
Stay
of.
away from Jurgen.
But exactly, that's why. It's reactions like that. I don't think fans of Rudy Garcia were saying, stay away from Rudy Garcia to Napoli when they went and chased him. There's a reason why people don't want Klopp to leave their club. And that would be seen as a little bit even of a step up or just staying the same. Because Spalletti now has to be elevated to like legendary status if you win a Scudetto with Napoli after 33 years.
Interesting. Well, let's stay with Napoli and talk about Victor Osimhen, the owner of Napoli. Aurelio De Laurentiis has said, what did he say? He said this week that he will be wearing a Napoli kit unless a more than indecent offer comes in.
Is that translated?
More than indecent offer. Saying basically that PSG is really the only team that could come in
stupid
and
money.
afford him. Stupid money. Stupid
Filthy money.
Do you foresee Victor Osimhen staying at Napoli?
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, 99%. I would be shocked if they let him go. But as De Laurentiis has shown throughout his tenure as the owner of Napoli, every player has a price. He lost Gonzalo Higuain after Gonzalo Higuain tied the Serie A single goal scoring record of 36 goals in a season. He got rid of Edinson Cavani, Lavezzi, Hamšík. Every great attacker they've had has moved on, has been sold for big money. And what Napoli have shown is that they're the only team really that can turn $1 into 4 quarters. Normally you get 3/4 of $1. It's hard to replicate if you get 3 decent pieces for one all-star, superstar level player. And right now, Osimhen is a world-class top 5 striker.
His
in the world.
value is never going to go higher.
I was going to say,
even if they win
so many
Champions
teams
League.
But they don't need money. They're a
use
healthy
him.
business. They do not need money. They're not in debt.
For the most part, Napoli has been able to recycle and maintain themselves in that upper echelon tier of Serie A.
That's because of Giuntoli, the sporting director who's now at Juventus. The sporting director who was a mastermind. Maybe he's like the Messi of sporting directors. He just left to Juventus.
He was the sporting director.
He's incredible. What the guy did, if you just take a look at who they sold and who they
sold
bought.
Dries Martins.
Every great attacker.
Insane.
I mean, and then you see
Yeah.
what he did. He turned Cavani into Higuain and Mertens. He turned Higuain into now what you're seeing. You know, the money from that is still going to the Kvaratskhelia, Osimhen.
Kim Min-jae, 10 million.
Kim Min-jae,
Boom,
10
next
million.
year, 50
Kvara,
million.
10 million. Kvara.
You know it's serious when he does
No,
this.
but someone had
That's
an
good
eye.
money right there.
Someone had an eye for Lobotka. Someone had
Zielinski.
for Zamboanguissa.
Now he's
to
doing
make
it.
them. No, but it's true because it's.
Zamboanguissa
Hey, what
was playing
about
for Fulham.
Klopp going to Napoli? Get away from
Zamboanguissa got relegated in the Premier League, and now he looks like one of the best box-to-box
They
players.
had an eye for him, and
It's
it
incredible.
all clicked.
So if Osimhen leaves, I trust that they'll still be able to bring in players because they're healthy. They don't need to put that money back in to be profitable. They're going to turn that money into players, but you're not going to replicate someone like Osimhen because they're not going to go out and spend $150 million on one single player.
Good point. All right, let's talk about Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, who's going to be leaving
Speaking of money.
Lazio, heading to Saudi Arabia. I'm very curious to get your thoughts on this move, Matteo.
My thoughts is that this sucks. Lazio were able to keep him for 8 seasons. They already apparently warded off a $150 million offer from Milan back into Chinese ownership. I don't know if that's true, but he's received much bigger offers. Now he's 28 years old, and he's one of the best midfielders in the league. But you can't fault him. He's right in his prime. He is inconsistent, though. There is something keeping him from being truly world-class, in my opinion, and that is that he's still quite inconsistent. He can't turn down the money, though. Going from $3.9 million to 8 times more than that, who's not going to do that?
Who's not going to do that?
Is that a cry to Saudi
Susanna
Arabia
just said,
from you?
we'll do that.
The local broadcaster's going to poach you now.
No, it's sad. They have enough money. They can't get to everybody's price.
I just think it's because you said, he's 28 years old. This is a guy still in his prime. If Saudi Arabia continues to be this type of player, well, they are attracting players who are in their prime. This shakes things up.
Morning Footy live from Riyadh.
Does anyone have the domestic rights? I don't know if they need another color commentator. Yeah, guys.
Oh, gosh. All right, guys, we're going to take a break. Jenny Chu will be back with some headlines when we return.
Oh